Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we are really opening the door on one of the most transformative and frankly just dramatic personal development stories we've ever come across.
We're looking at the ultimate corporate escape story.
Exactly. What happens when someone at the absolute pinnacle of success just crashes, burns, and decides to trade it all in for a journey of, inner mastery?
So we've been digging into the story of Julian Mantle, a truly brilliant, super charismatic, but deeply tormented trial lawyer.
And the story kicks off with a shock, a near-fatal collapse that basically forces him to give up everything.
Everything. His multi-million-dollar practice, he liquidates every single possession. Yes, even the famous red Ferrari, and he just disappears.
Into the Himalayas to learn what the source material calls the 7 timeless virtues of enlightened living. So our mission today is pretty straightforward. We are going to unpack the foundational principles that Julian learned from these sages of Savannah, specifically those first few essential techniques for cleaning up your mental clutter, finding your true purpose, and really building that unstoppable momentum.
And to really appreciate the scope of this change,
Yeah.
you have to picture the old Julian.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he was the definition of peak performance. A legal celebrity known for these aggressive courtroom tactics, always in a $3,000 Italian suit.
Constantly surrounded by jargon, stress, Cuban cigar smoke, just the whole image.
But the irony, and it's a huge one, is that while he was winning every case, he was absolutely losing his life.
The stress of his, what the source called his out-of-balance lifestyle, it just aged him so dramatically. At 53, he looked like he was in his late 70s.
Gaunt, anxious, just a walking billboard for burnout. He had all the success in the world, but he was spiritually and physically bankrupt.
And that debt came due.
In the most public way possible. He suffers a massive heart attack, right in the middle of addressing a packed courtroom.
A huge, spectacular collapse. It was his ultimatum, really. Change everything or die.
And that's where the old life ends. He sells the mansion, the private plane, the boat.
And the Ferrari. We have to keep mentioning the Ferrari.
And the Ferrari. And he vanishes for 7 months on this personal odyssey of the self to India.
And when he comes back, the change is just radical.
So radical, his former associate barely recognizes him. The anxious, old-looking lawyer is gone. He's replaced by this man who's just radiating youth, vitality, a kind of quiet strength.
Looks decades younger, possessing a level of inner peace that's described as, and I'm quoting here, almost divine.
So the big question is, how do you do that? How do you go from looking like you're on your last legs to this serene guru in under a year?
And the answer lies with the wisdom of the sages of Savannah, deep in the Himalayas. And they taught him through this really ancient method, a mystical fable.
Right, where every element in the story symbolizes a practical, life-changing virtue.
Why a fable? Why not just a list of rules?
Because abstract philosophy doesn't stick. You need a powerful mnemonic device, a memory peg. The principles are tied to these vivid, sometimes totally absurd images, and that's why they work.
Okay, so let's unpack the first of these principles. It starts with the setting for the whole fable, the magnificent, lush green garden.
The garden, simply put, is your mind.
Okay.
And Julian learned this essential truth, that your mind is incredibly fertile ground. It needs constant, diligent cultivation. If you sow good thoughts, positive thoughts, you'll reap peace and energy.
But if you neglect it,
The weeds take over, the worries, the fears, the negative habits. They choke everything out, and peace becomes impossible.
this makes so much sense, especially when you consider the sheer volume of our thoughts. The sources mention the average person has something like 60,000 thoughts a day.
Yeah, that number is staggering, but here's the really critical part.
What's that?
95% of those thoughts are the exact same ones you had yesterday.
Wow.
So if you're stuck in a loop of self-doubt or anxiety, you're literally running the same negative script over and over. It's a tyranny of impoverished thinking. You need discipline to break that loop.
So if the mind is this garden we have to tend, what are the actual tools? Let's start with the first one, the heart of the rose.
This is pure, focused mindfulness training. It's beautiful in its simplicity. Julian was told to just sit quietly and stare at a single rose.
To stare at it.
Yep, focus only on its color, its texture, the fragrance.
Yeah.
For anywhere from 5 to 30 minutes.
30 minutes staring at a flower sounds, I don't know, less like self-mastery and more like a nice break. What's the power in that?
It's not a break. It's intensive training for your concentration muscle. See, most of our minds are just chattering away, constantly flitting from one thing to the next.
The monkey mind.
The monkey mind, exactly. The rose exercise forces single-point focus. When your mind wanders, and it will, you just gently bring it back to the rows. By training concentration, you're training your mind to do what you tell it to do, not just what it feels like doing.
Right, like focusing a magnifying glass. The energy is there, but you have to focus it to create any heat.
Perfect analogy. But focus alone won't clear out the bad stuff. That brings us to the second technique, which is more proactive. It's called opposition thinking.
That sounds almost like a fight, like you're going to war with your own thoughts.
In a way, you are. Opposition thinking means you immediately and deliberately replace any negative thought with an uplifting one.
So you catch yourself thinking, I can't do this, and you, what?
You instantly replace it. You force in a positive affirmation. I can and I will. I am more than capable. You're basically forging a new neural pathway.
I found the physical part of this fascinating. Julian, this super logical lawyer, starts carrying around worry beads.
That's the genius of the Sage's method, making the abstract physical. Every time he caught himself with a negative thought, he'd slide a bead. It makes self-awareness measurable.
You can't deny how much you're worrying when there's a pile of beads proving it at the end of the day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That physical act is a stepping stone.
Okay, and the third technique in the garden, the secret of the lake. This takes us from correcting negative thoughts to actually building the future. Visualization.
Yes. The sages would wake up before dawn, look into the still water of a mountain lake, and visualize their goals as if they'd already happened. Julian called it blueprinting.
So is this just wishful thinking? Or is there a real mechanism at work here?
It's way more than wishful thinking. Visualization works because your subconscious mind struggles to tell the difference between a vividly imagined experience and a real one.
Okay.
So when you consistently and with emotion picture yourself achieving a goal, nailing that presentation, feeling healthy and strong, you're priming your brain for that success. You're giving your subconscious a clear set of instructions.
So we've cultivated the mind, the garden. Now this clean, focused mental space needs a direction. That brings us to the second virtue, symbolized by the towering lighthouse.
Right, that huge red lighthouse. It symbolizes Dharma, or your life's purpose. And the wisdom here is so simple but so profound.
What is it?
The purpose of life is a life of purpose. Lasting happiness doesn't come from just waiting around. It comes from actively, steadily working towards worthy goals.
We often think of purpose as this one huge thing, but Julian says you need goals for every part of your life, personal, professional, spiritual.
And that's critical. The danger is what happened to him before his collapse.
Yeah.
Total imbalance. If your lighthouse only shines on your career, your health and your relationships are left on the dark, rocky shores.
A successful facade on a rotten foundation.
Perfectly put. And he learned that a goal not committed to paper is no goal at all.
Okay.
If your purpose is the destination, goal setting is the map. And the sages had a very clear 5-step method for this.
Okay, let's walk through it. Step 1.
Step 1 ties right back to the garden. Form a clear mental image of the outcome. You have to be able to see it, feel it, almost taste the success.
Step 2 is where it gets interesting and maybe a little uncomfortable. Create positive pressure.
This is the accountability piece. And the sages in Savannah had an extreme version of this.
What'd they do?
Julian says they'd declare their goals to each other, and if they failed, they would willingly stand under a freezing, icy waterfall until they were numb.
Wow. Okay. For those of us without a Himalayan waterfall handy, what's the modern equivalent?
It's just about raising the stakes. Make a public pledge on social media, make a financial bet with a friend, find an accountability partner you have to report to. The point is to make the pain of not acting greater than the pain of the discipline itself.
Okay. Step 3 is about making a physical record. Attach a timeline and keep a dream book.
Right. A journal full of your goals, your deadlines, pictures that inspire you. That deadline is key. A goal without a deadline is just a wish.
Step 4 is probably the most famous one from this whole story, the magic rule of 21.
The sages believed it takes 21 days of consistent action for a new behavior to become an automatic habit. It forges that new neural pathway we talked about, so something that takes huge willpower on day 1 is as easy as brushing your teeth by day 22.
Now, we know from modern research that number might be a bit optimistic. Some studies say it's closer to 66 days.
Right, and that's fair. But the number itself is less important than the principle. Unbroken consistency. That's the engine of self-mastery. If you miss a day, you have to start over.
And the final step, step 5, enjoy the process. This feels a bit counterintuitive when we're talking about discipline and icy waterfall.
It's the secret sauce, though. If you're only focused on the end result, the work is a slog. But if you learn to enjoy the daily effort, the growth itself, you actually accelerate the process.
It's that idea that if you have one eye on the destination, you only have one eye left to guide you on the journey.
That's the exact metaphor Julian used. You have to keep both eyes on the journey.
And focusing on that journey brings us to the third virtue, symbolized by maybe the strangest image in the whole fable, the naked sumo wrestler.
Yeah, this one gets people's attention. We're
Yeah.
talking about a 9-foot-tall, 900-pound sumo wrestler who just stumbles out of the lighthouse wearing nothing but a thin pink wire cable.
Okay, so this is the symbol for kaizen.
Kaizen, yes. The Japanese principle of continuous, never-ending self-improvement, self-leadership.
So why the giant wrestler? And why the pink cable?
The wrestler represents our inner strength, our potential. Yeah. He's massive and powerful, but he's also naked and vulnerable. It suggests that power has to be harnessed. The wisdom is that success on the outside begins with success on the inside.
You have to work on yourself first.
Always. You have to constantly enrich your mind, body, and spirit. And
Awesome.
that pink wire cable, that's your willpower.
Ah.
A single wire is flimsy. It breaks easily. But when you bundle thousands of them together through consistent daily discipline, they become stronger than iron. Willpower isn't something you're born with. It's a muscle you build through tiny acts of self-control.
And building that inner strength means you have to confront things, especially fear.
Absolutely. Julian learned that fear is just a mental monster. It's a conditioned response. It's not actually real. It's just inertia that you've given a scary name.
So how do you beat it?
The teaching is very blunt. Do the thing you fear. That's it. Whether it's a difficult conversation or starting a new project, action is the antidote to fear. Every small act of courage builds that willpower. It bundles another wire, and it transforms you from a prisoner of your old habits into the architect of your future.
This has been a huge download. The first three virtues: mind mastery in the garden, having a purpose with the lighthouse, and then kaizen, self-mastery, with the sumo wrestler.
Right.
What's amazing is that these aren't just, abstract philosophies. They're specific, actionable techniques. You can start them today.
And that's Julian's ultimate insight, that transformation is incremental. We all want the overnight success, but the scientists taught that small victories lead to large victories. The Taj Mahal wasn't built in a day,
Block by block.
block by block. The secret to happiness he found was simple. Find out what you truly love to do, and then direct all of your energy towards doing it.
As we wrap this up, I want to leave you with one final, really provocative idea that Julian learned. It's the concept of adopting a deathbed mentality.
It's a clarifying thought, isn't it? Terrifying, but clarifying.
Yeah. He asks you to use it as a compass. Every morning, wake up and ask yourself, what would I do today and how would I treat other people if this was my absolute last day on Earth?
If today was your last.
Think about that. How would the priorities and actions we just talked about, guarding your thoughts, focusing on your purpose, facing that one fear, how would all that shift if the clock was really ticking? The answer to that question, lived out daily, that's the definition of an enlightened life.
Live in the now. Savor the gift of the present. And remember that fundamental truth Julian found in the Himalayas. What lies behind you and what lies in front of you. It matters very little compared to what lies within you.
That is the ultimate challenge. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the wisdom of the sages of Savannah. Now go cultivate your garden.